Hi, seventh grade. Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at answers from your work on Thursday. We're going to be looking at, especially the last question where the evidence. We're going to be reading a document, and we're also going to be watching a video. Before I start, I want to make it clear that a lot of students are not doing the work, and they're not doing it on time. Usually, I give you an hour or two to make up your work, but it's still not getting done. So in UCSC, we have 23 students have submitted the work. Now, does that mean that 23 students submitted the work to the best of their abilities? Not necessarily, right? These answers should be in complete sentences, and some of you guys are doing that, but some of us are not, and I need you to work on that. Okay. Huge shout out to Ernesto who answered these questions and also did a complete CEE. This is UCSC, right? That last question we're gonna go over in a second. We're gonna go over that last question in a second. But we have a number of students that are not done, and this is pretty like it's becoming the same thing, right? Every day, it's students are not finishing their work on time or just not doing it at all. Let's go to UCLA. Again, I'm not doing this to put you on blast because that's not the point. I'm not saying any names, but I want you guys to work on doing the work completely, right? We're going to be taking interims. Going to be taking SBACs, and these are habits that you have to continue to develop, right? For example, when we say it was invented, you should say the printing press was invented in 1450. Okay. Please continue to like this, right? This is incomplete work. We need to do better than this. Okay. And then for UCSLA, the work completion is much better, but there's still a number of kids that are not doing the work on time, and it tends to be the same students. I need you to get on this and please get it done as best as you can. Abeline, you did a awesome job here. Good job. Yeah, these are pretty good. I just want you guys to do the best you can, right? If the best you can is writing one word answers, that's where you are, and that's that's what we need to do. But I need you to continue to push yourselves to do a better job than this. Maddox, I don't know what happened here, but that's incomplete. Please fix it. And it's still early, so you see Davis still has some time to work on it. Okay. Again, it's please work on that. Let's go over some of the answers for the for question 7. Actually, let's go over the questions for the exit for the in classroom. Who invented the printing press? It was Gutenberg, 1450s, right? He was from Germany. What was one of the first books that he printed? It was the Bible. He printed it in Latin, right? Which people still couldn't read, but it's the idea of printing a document that more people have access to. That's what's important. Eventually, the Bible is translated. Why were books cheaper after the invention of the printing press? They're cheaper because there's more of them. There's just more of them, right? If you look at if you're familiar with high end cars like supercars, you'll notice that Lamborghini is a brand of a car maker. They might only make 500 copies of a car. They might only make 500 cars of a certain model. So those are really expensive because it's only 500. Toyotas, there's millions and millions of them, so they're much cheaper, right? Books are really expensive because they're really hard to make before the printing press, and it took a long time. That's why they're really expensive. Now with the printing press, books are much easier to make, so there's many more, so it's much cheaper to make, to buy. The number 5, the narrator talks about books being printed in vernacular. What does he mean by this? Vernacular means a book that people can understand in the region where they live. I made this example with my UC Davis class. If someone gives me a book written in Chinese, I won't be able to read it. I'm going to need a Chinese or someone that speaks Chinese teacher or professor to tell me what's in the book or help me understand it, right? If someone gives me a book in Spanish or English, I'll be able to read it myself because that's my vernacular, right? That's the language that I understand. right? In France, most people couldn't read Latin, right, during the Middle Ages or the Renaissance. So therefore, they were limited to what they had access to. If they wanted to understand what the Bible said, they had to depend on the church. They had to depend on someone that understood what was said. Now, once the printing press is invented, people begin to actually write books in the language of the people that live there, right? In Spanish, English, French, German, Italian, Polish. Okay, and then we're gonna get to number 6. Why would the church be against printing the Bible? Wouldn't the church want more people to be able to read the Bible? And the answer to that is that the church controls the message to God, right? People need the church to get to God, and you'll see that this is a political and social idea. That if you need the church to get to God, you don't want to make the message. You don't want to give that message directly to people, right? They need you to be able to access God. And if you publish the Bible in a different language, or if you make it in the language of people or the people speak, then people can find God on their own. They no longer need you. Okay. And then the last one. So the last one was interesting. The question was asking, how did the printing press impact learning and religion? What effect did it have? Right? So let's look at some examples. These don't have names, so I thought it was here. Oh, here it is. So this is one student retranslated the Bible into vernacular language, making it more accessible. So this evidence is good, right? It made education, it made ideas more accessible to people. People began to read more of the Bible. So this evidence is really good because it talks about what is the effect, what does it do to education, what does it do to religion. So writers started to develop writing into vernacular. Good. They stopped writing in Latin so much, which had been language of the Middle Ages, and started writing things like they would become Italian and English and French. Okay. So this evidence is okay. I would want a little more. What is the effect, right? So I think it works. They can explain how being able to read in your own language allows you to access more information. So this is the same one. The printing press led to an increase in demand in education. This is good, right? This is good, but they'll have to explain how it led to a demand in education, right? This piece of evidence work, but they don't work without an explanation. But these work. His invention came as a milestone event in the evolution of human communication. This evidence doesn't really work, right? It's just saying its importance, but it doesn't say what was the effect. It could take years to print the Bible. Many things we a form of a book. That evidence doesn't work. I asked for 2 pieces of evidence, 2 or 3, and I get this piece. Okay, and this one wouldn't work because this is not talking about the effect. What effect does this have? Does the printing press have on education or religion? Copies could be printed by the hundreds or even thousands. In 1455, Gutenberg printed 180 Bibles, each of them 1,100 pages long. This evidence really doesn't work either, right? They're just talking about what he did. I'm asking, how did it impact education? How did it impact literacy? You could have talked about the reduction of power of the church. You could have talked about how more people have access to reading. You could have talked about how people began to challenge the past. All those would have worked. Okay, you're gonna be doing the same thing today, but it'll be in an exit ticket form. I'm gonna read this out loud. The video we're gonna watch after this is only about 4 minutes long, but it will appear on your exit ticket. Johannes Gutenberg. With the invention of the personal computer and internet, a new age in communication began. Now people could communicate faster and more easily than ever before. So right now they're talking about the internet, right? Writing, editing, and storing information became quickly and easy. It was no longer necessary to write drafts after draft when changes could be made so easily using a word processor program. Messages could now be sent in no time to anywhere in the world without addressing envelopes or paying stamps. So here they're trying to hook you, right? They're trying to they're going to be drawing a comparison between the internet and the printing press. Centuries centuries earlier, around the year 1450, so right in the middle of the Renaissance. A similar revolution in communication had occurred in Germany. So some people said that the printing press happened in Italy. It did not. It happened in Germany, modern day Germany. This happened when Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press. Gutenberg was not the first person to use printing to copy a piece of writing. Printing had already been invented in China, where they used clay to print Chinese characters. Small items such as posters and flyers were already being printed in Europe too, using the woodblock method of printing. So the woodblock method of printing is when you carve out a whole piece of wood, put ink on it, and make a copy of it. But that means that you can't rearrange the images in the woodblock because they're actually carved in. And you'll see that with the method that Gutenberg's developed, they're letters, so he's able to rearrange them. Books and other large works, however, were still being copied by hand. At this time, books were usually produced only in Latin. Remember, the Latin is that language that is a dead language. And only the most educated people read them. Gutenberg's printing press changed all of this. Gutenberg's printing press used type made of metal. Each letter or punctuation mark was cast separately, so each piece is in a different cast. This meant that the type could be arranged. When they say type, they mean the printed letter or symbol. Could be rearranged over and over again to print many different items. This improvement led to the printing process called the movable type. With Gutenberg's invention, the letters were with Gutenberg's method, the letters were set by hand in a wooden frame or printing block. The ink was rolled over the wood block. Next, a heavy press pushed the printing block down into a sheet of paper. A little bit of trivia: that one of the first printing press, was actually made out of a wine press. They were able to it was like a screw that you screwed on, and it pressed down on the press and the ink. The printing block could be used over and over again and to print many copies, and then the type could be rearranged to set the next page. Gutenberg printed calendars, grammar books, and all types of usable publications. But his really extraordinary project was the Gutenberg Bible. Nothing like it had ever been printed before. The Gutenberg Bible was a 2-volume book that was 1,282 pages long. Even with the printing press, it was a huge undertaking, so it still took a long time. Gutenberg couldn't do it himself. He had to recruit workers. Think about what the word recruit means. And find wealthy patrons to sponsor the project. When the printing was done around 1454, they had 180 copies of the Bible, 150 printed on paper, and 30 printed on parchment. Artists added the colorful or illuminated letters to each copy by hand. 48 copies of Gutenberg's Bible still exist today, including 2 in the Gutenberg Museum. I'm guessing this might be in Germany. They are considered treasures not only because they were the latest in technology in their time, but also because they are beautiful books. Gutenberg's printing press brought a revolution. This is the important, right? This is some of the effects. This is some of the things that happen as a result of the printing press. Gutenberg's printing press brought a revolution in communication. A revolution is something that is like an explosion, something incredible, a change. Much like the computer did, much more recently, once books could be mass-produced. Mass-produced means there's many of them, quickly. I think I should spell quickly. They began to be printed in the language that the people spoke every day, not just Latin. Here's that language, right? Language, that's vernacular. That people spoke every day. More and more people began to read and write. In fact, Gutenberg's printing press was one of the inventions that led up to the great changes beginning. Ridiculous. Sorry, I got lost here. In fact, Gutenberg's printing press was one of the inventions that led up to the greatest changes in beginning to happen in Europe in the late Middle Ages. Changes in the way people lived and worked, including the Renaissance of arts and literature and Industrial Revolution, all had roots in the new communication technology that Gutenberg began with his printing press. So think about if the printing press hadn't been invented, right? What would life be like, right? Would would scientists be able to? Would scientists at the time be able to read other scientists? Would they be able to learn new technologies? And the answer is probably not. So the printing press allowed people to be able to share ideas, um, to be able to read and write books that could be for the masses. Here's the video that I want to show you guys.
Everybody knows the story of Gutenberg and his printing press. Nonetheless, it's still one of the greatest stories in the history of invention.
I believe that the printing press was our species' intellectual Big Bang. Knowledge, up to that point, was the property only of a small number of people, whether it be royalty or a religious order. And the ability to produce books is severely limited because to produce a book, a person has to sit with one book and painstakingly copy it into a second version.
They were fantastically expensive. They took a really long time to make. They were prone to transcription errors that would propagate from volume to volume.
So here they're talking about before the Renaissance, before the invention of the printing press. What was it like to have these books?
And these limiting factors kept them from being distributed to people. Gutenberg saw an opportunity. He knew it was possible to print in a new way that would make it less expensive. He saw this as a tremendous money-making opportunity.
Gutenberg has the...
So think about why Gutenberg developed this technology, right? Was it because he wanted people to have access to knowledge? Was it because he wanted people to be able to read in their own language? Or was it a business opportunity? Was it a business, right? It's kind of the same thing with big tech today, like Google and Yahoo and Facebook. Is it because they want us to connect? Is it because they want us to be more educated? Or are they just making money out of it, and that's a product of how they make money, right? Is Google in it to educate the world and connect the world, or are they in it to make money out of ads? Let me backtrack on that.
Making opportunity.
Gutenberg has the idea for movable type.
Movable type, where you didn't have to make new ones for each page. You could just arrange the letters, and then you could print as many pages as you want.
Once movable type came into play and the production costs went down, knowledge flourished.
The ability to have access to this world of knowledge was absolutely transformational for Europe. So you had this huge boom in literacy, and with the awareness that there was such a thing as a book, became curiosity about what was going on around the world. If you look at the first couple of hundred years of what today we'd call literature, it wasn't religious like the Bible. Almost all of it was travel literature. People wanted to explore. If they couldn't personally leave their homes, they wanted to explore through knowledge. The notion of pressing blocks against paper to make images or text had been around and really come from China, but no one had ever turned it into a real manufacturing process. That's the difference. It's that he could make thousands of them and make them quickly and efficiently.
It plants the seed of the notion that you can get machines to do what people used to do.
You start to see the end of the artisan era and the beginning of the manufacturing era. And you think about the impact that had, it's really hard to underestimate it. Gutenberg's printing press was so revolutionary. His name certainly lives on as one of the great inventors of human history.
So that's all I have. Please do me a huge favor and finish your work on time. Usually I give you about an hour after your class is due for you to finish, and try your best. What I'm seeing is not the best. If we were on campus, some of these answers would require me to keep you at lunch or recess. Obviously, I can't do that. But please keep pushing yourselves. Because I'm so I know that you can do it, and you'll do fine if you keep doing that. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.